Ships go missing more often than you'd think, and warships aren't immune. Some left the port and never checked in again. Some blame bad weather, others bad decisions, but none fill in the blanks completely. Today we're going to take a look at the 15 ships that disappeared without a trace. Number 15, MV Joyita. The MV Joyita is one of the strangest maritime disappearances of the 20th century. A 70-foot wooden merchant ship built in 1931, it had a reputation for toughness and once served as a patrol boat in World War II. By 1955, she was operating in the South Pacific, hauling cargo and occasional passengers between island chains. On October 3, 1955, Joyita departed Samoa with 25 people and medical supplies for a routine voyage. It should have taken a couple of days, but she never arrived. After weeks of searching, she was found on November 10th, over 600 miles off course, abandoned, listing, and half-flooded. The lifeboats, logbooks, and navigational gear were gone. Cargo was missing, but the ship was still buoyant, thanks to cork-lined compartments. There were no signs of foul play or external damage. Investigators guessed mechanical failure and water ingress triggered panic, but the real question remains, why did everyone leave a floating seaworthy vessel and vanish forever? The mystery has never been solved. Number 14, HMS Atlanta. This was a British Royal Navy training ship that vanished in 1880 while sailing from Bermuda to England. Originally launched in 1844 as HMS Juno, she was converted in 1878 into a training ship for new naval recruits. The vessel served to train young sailors in seamanship and naval discipline. Though still seaworthy, she was aging and heavily reliant on sail. In January 1880, Atlanta departed Bermuda with more than 280 aboard, cadets and crew alike, on her first major voyage in her new role. She never reached England. After her scheduled arrival passed, the Royal Navy launched a search. No wreckage or evidence was found. Ships in the Atlantic around that time reported violent storms, and many believed Atlanta had succumbed to the weather. Still, the total lack of wreckage or distress signals raised questions. Some speculated she was overloaded and top-heavy. Memorials were erected in Portsmouth and other naval towns honoring the cadets lost, but not one clue ever surfaced. She simply just vanished. Number 13, SS Kamloops. The SS Kamloops was a Canadian steamer operated by Canada Steamship Lines, built in 1924 and used to carry cargo across the Great Lakes. On December 6, 1927, she left Fort William, now Thunder Bay, heading for the lower lakes with a mixed shipment of goods like pipes, shoes, food, and equipment. After passing through the Soo Locks, she disappeared somewhere on Lake Superior. A snowstorm had moved in, making navigation difficult. When the vessel failed to arrive, extensive searches were launched using aircraft and ships, but nothing was found. Decades passed before divers found her wreck in 1977 off Isle Royale in deep, cold water. The wreck was upright and incredibly well preserved. What made it remarkable wasn't just the long delay in discovery, but the intact cargo and haunting interior. Boots, canned food, and supplies were still inside. The exact cause of sinking is unclear. Ice buildup or slow flooding is likely. The site is now protected within Isle Royale National Park, and it's best you should sati away from it. Number 12, SS Waratah. This was a British passenger and cargo beast that disappeared without a trace off the South African coast in 1909 during its second voyage from Australia to the UK. Built in 1908 by the Blue Anchor Line, she was a brand new vessel, modern, fully equipped, and designed for both freight and luxury travel. With capacity for over 750 passengers and then cutting-edge steam propulsion, the Waratah was viewed as a proud addition to the fleet. On July 26, 1909, she departed Durban en route to Cape Town with over 200 people aboard. Conditions weren't especially severe, and the last ship to see her, Clan McIntyre, reported nothing unusual. But the Waratah never made it. No wreckage, lifeboats, or debris was ever confirmed. A massive search, including British Admiralty support and private ships, covered thousands of miles, yielding nothing. Theories include a top-heavy design flaw or rogue waves, but no answer has stuck. Sometimes called Australia's Titanic, she vanished in calm seas and left behind silence. Number 11. SS City of Boston. The SS City of Boston was a British passenger steamer operated by the Inman Line that disappeared in January 1870 while traveling from Halifax, Nova Scotia to Liverpool, England. Built in 1864, it had served reliably in transatlantic routes, carrying both mail and passengers. On January 28, 1870, she left Halifax with more than 190 people aboard and a full mail shipment. The weather was favorable as she departed. After that, she was never seen again. No distress messages were received. When she failed to reach Liverpool, ships were dispatched to search the North Atlantic, but no wreckage or mail was recovered. Theories included collision with ice, uncharted obstacles, or mechanical failure. Days after departure, storms reportedly struck, but no evidence linked them to her fate. Notably, she had undergone engineering changes before departure, including propeller shaft adjustments, which raised questions about seaworthiness. Her complete disappearance sparked debates about maritime safety and led to calls for improved transatlantic reporting systems. The wreck remains undiscovered. Number 10. SV Mary Celeste. Well, this one is a pretty famous. The SV Mary Celeste is one of history's most iconic ghost ships, not because she sank, but because she didn't. Found drifting on December 4, 1872, she was intact, under partial sail, and abandoned. The American brigantine had departed New York on November 7th, bound for Genoa, Italy, with a cargo of industrial alcohol. On board were Captain Benjamin Briggs, his wife, their daughter, and 7 crewmen. A month later, the British ship DEI Gracia spotted her near the Azores. Everything was in place: food supplies, belongings, cargo, except the crew. The lifeboat was missing. The ship was seaworthy with only a small amount of water in the hold and a disassembled pump. No signs of foul play, no distress call. The DEI Gracia sailed her to Gibraltar, where an inquiry found no criminal activity. Theories included gas buildup, seaquake, or fear of explosion. Still, no explanation has stuck. The Mary Celeste wasn't lost, but her people were, and no one ever figured out why. Number 9. USS Cyclops. The Cyclops was a big U.S. Navy collier launched in 1910 to transport coal for fleet operations. At over 540 feet, it was the largest ship in the Navy when it vanished. On March 4, 1918, while sailing from Barbados to Baltimore, the Cyclops vanished with 309 people aboard and more than 10,000 tons of manganese ore. It had already completed stops in Rio de Janeiro and Barbados without incident. No mechanical issues were reported. Weather was calm. No enemy vessels were nearby. No distress call was ever made. Despite a wide search, no debris, oil slicks, or remains were found. The Navy admitted it was one of the most baffling disappearances in its records. Some theorized structural failure from the heavy cargo or ballast issues. Others cited engine trouble. Its crankshaft reportedly needed repair. Nothing was confirmed. 2 sister ships of the same class later vanished under similar circumstances. Despite endless speculation, Cyclops remains the Navy's largest non-combat loss ever recorded. Number 8. Carroll A. Deering. The Carroll A. Deering was a 5-masted schooner launched in 1919 from the G.G. Deering shipyard in Bath, Maine. Built to haul coal and other bulk cargo, it was among the last and largest of its kind. In August 1920, she set out from Norfolk, Virginia to Rio de Janeiro. The original captain, William H. Merritt, fell ill shortly after departure and was replaced by Captain Willis B. Wormell. Reports later noted tensions with the new crew. After delivering coal in Brazil, the ship stopped in Barbados, where Wormell voiced concerns to fellow captains about crew insubordination. On January 28, 1921, the Cape Lookout lightship saw the Deering. A crewman, not the captain, reported lost anchors and asked to notify owners. 3 days later, the ship was found aground at Diamond Shoals, lifeboats, logbooks, and crew gone. The wheel and binnacle were smashed. The company gave little comment. Piracy, mutiny, and storms were considered. No bodies or wreckage surfaced. The crew's fate remains completely unknown. Number 7. SS Poet. The SS Poet was a 520-foot American bulk carrier that disappeared in the North Atlantic in October 1980. Originally built in 1944 as a Navy transport, it was later converted for commercial use. In its final voyage, the Poet was hauling corn from Philadelphia to Port Said, Egypt. The last confirmed communication came on October 24th, hundreds of miles east of Delaware Bay. The ship was in good shape, recently inspected, with a crew of 34 and no known issues. When it failed to reach its destination, the U.S. Coast Guard launched a search covering over 200,000 square miles. No debris, no oil, no lifeboats. Nothing surfaced. The emergency beacon never activated. Investigators explored several possibilities: hull failure, shifting cargo, or even a freak wave, but no evidence supported any theory. Some mentioned power loss or flooding. The final report by the NTSB found no cause. No trace was ever found. Its loss remains a very sad event. Number 6. SS Baychimo. The SS Baychimo was a steel-hulled cargo steamer owned by the Hudson's Bay Company, launched in 1914 and originally used for fur trade routes along the remote coasts of Alaska and Canada. Built in Sweden, she was renamed Baychimo after being acquired by the British, becoming a regular presence in Arctic waters, hauling goods between isolated trading posts. In October 1931, en route from Vancouver to Arctic communities, Baychimo got trapped in ice near Barrow, modern-day Utqiagvik, Alaska. The experienced crew abandoned her temporarily, sheltering ashore during worsening weather. When the ice shifted, she was freed, then frozen again. On October 15th, the company airlifted most of the crew, leaving a few men behind to watch her. After a blizzard hit, the vessel vanished. Days later, she was seen drifting 45 miles away. She wasn't salvageable, so she was left. Over the next decades, Baychimo was spotted repeatedly by explorers and whalers, drifting through the Beaufort Sea. Her last confirmed sighting was in 1969, then she vanished for good. What do you think about it? Well, let us know. Number 5. SS Marine Sulphur Queen. The SS Marine Sulphur Queen was a 524-foot-long T2 tanker built during World War II and later converted to haul molten sulfur in bulk. On February 2nd, 1963, she left Beaumont, Texas, carrying more than 15,000 tons of molten sulfur bound for Virginia. After crossing the Florida Straits, she and her 39-man crew were never heard from again. Originally an oil tanker, the ship had been retrofitted with insulated tanks to carry sulfur at temperatures over 135 degrees Celsius. Engineers had warned of possible risks, structural fatigue, and heat stress on the hull. The final radio transmission was received on February 4th near Florida's southern tip, nothing out of the ordinary. When she failed to arrive, the Coast Guard launched a search covering 350,000 square miles. Only minor debris turned up. No ship, no cargo, no crew. Theories include structural failure or shifting cargo, but no cause was proven. The ship's disappearance remains one of the most infamous maritime vanishings ever linked to the Bermuda Triangle. Number 4. SS Bannockburn. The Bannockburn was a Canadian freighter launched in 1893 that vanished on Lake Superior during a routine run from Fort William to Midland, Ontario on November 21, 1902. She was carrying a full load of wheat and crude by a young team. Considered a dependable vessel, she departed in fair weather. The last confirmed sighting came from the SS Algonquin, which passed her near Caribou Island. Nothing seemed wrong. But when the Bannockburn failed to arrive, panic followed. Search teams combed the shoreline and lake, but found no wreckage or clues. One theory points to an unmarked shoal near Caribou Island that may have caused a rapid sinking. Others suggested hull failure in the icy water. Despite sonar expeditions, her wreck remains unfound. Her eerie legacy earned her the nickname the Flying Dutchman of the Great Lakes. For years afterwards, sailors reported seeing a phantom freighter in fog, always near where she vanished. The ship, her crew, and her cargo were never recovered. Number 3. SS Edmund Fitzgerald. The Edmund was a 729-foot American freighter that vanished on Lake Superior on November 10, 1975, while en route from Superior, Wisconsin to Detroit, Michigan, carrying over 26,000 tons of taconite pellets. At its 1958 launch, it was the largest ship on the Great Lakes and remained one of the most respected vessels on inland waters. The voyage began without issues, but a powerful storm soon hit. With gusts over 70 miles per hour and waves exceeding 20 feet, conditions deteriorated fast. The Fitzgerald remained in radar contact with another freighter, the Arthur M. Anderson, exchanging updates until 7:10 p.m., when it reported it was holding its own. 10 minutes later, it vanished from radar, no distress call, no warning. The Anderson was the last to hear from her. Debris and lifeboats were found, but no survivors. The wreck was later discovered in two pieces on the lakebed. While several theories exist, structural failure, flooding, none were confirmed. Its sudden loss remains Lake Superior's most enduring mystery. Number 2. SS Hewitt. The Hewitt was a 5,000-ton American cargo ship that mysteriously vanished in January 1921 while sailing from Sabine, Texas to Boston, Massachusetts. Built in 1914 and owned by the Union Sulphur Company, the ship was modern and in excellent condition. It left Sabine on January 20th with general cargo and a crew of 42. A final routine message was transmitted on January 24th off the coast of Florida. After that, silence. When the ship failed to arrive, the Coast Guard launched a large-scale search, but no oil, debris, or cargo surfaced. Witnesses later reported an offshore explosion in the area where Hewitt may have sailed. Some suspected a collision or boiler failure, but no wreckage was found. No storm had been reported along its route, and no distress call had gone out. The ship had no history of trouble. Months of investigation brought no answers. In calm waters and patrolled routes, the Hewitt just vanished. Number 1. SV Resolven. The SV Resolven was a modest British bark used for cargo transport, primarily on transatlantic runs between North America and the British Isles. In August 1884, it became the center of an unsettling mystery. On August 27th, the British warship HMS Mallard found her adrift near Newfoundland in the Labrador Sea. Her sails were loose and there was no response aboard. The lifeboat was missing. The galley had fresh food. Personal belongings and cargo were untouched. The ship was in good condition. No damage, no flooding. Records show she had departed Quebec 6 days earlier, bound for Swansea, Wales, with a crew of 6 and the captain's wife. Based on her condition, experts believe she'd only been abandoned for a day or two. Towed to St. John's, no logs, notes, or warnings were found. Theories included iceberg threats, toxic gas from cargo, or misjudged damage. But no lifeboat, bodies, or wreckage ever surfaced. The reason this crew fled a seaworthy ship remains unanswered. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you very soon.